Could you tell us a bit about yourself and your role in your organization?
Okay, my name is Exner-Pirot. I'm the Director of Natural Resources, Energy and Environment at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. So we're a think tank. So we're focused on Canadian federal policy for the most part. And we focus on foreign issues, domestic issues, Indigenous issues, and then issues around energy and environment. So putting out, mostly trying to influence government policy. I think our motto is we exist so that bad government policy doesn't.
Why did you get into the natural resources industry?
When I was coming of age, I'll say in Saskatchewan was when we were going through the last commodities phase, the last commodities boom. And I saw how important it was for a community to have hope, to have optimism, to bring the young people home, to have good jobs, and how much better it is to go through a boom than a bust. And so I think I started to care about commodities, about the cycles, and about what it brings to quality of life, and how much we need those affordable material things in our lives, and how much Alberta and Saskatchewan provides.
What factors contribute to the adverse global view of the oil sands operations in Fort McMurray?
Well, I think it comes down to, greenhouse gases and climate change. And I think, amongst progressives have attached their identity to trying to stop climate change. And obviously climate change is a big issue, but also, energy affordability, reliability is also a big issue. We need that too. But it has become kind of a one-dimensional discussion that nothing else matters but climate change. I think for some people, they think it's an existential threat. So the oil sands is a massive producer of oil. Most of Canadians' oil comes out of there. It is a higher emissions barrel than the average barrel because heavy oil is like that. So I think in terms of messaging or trying to curb Western as being a target of environmentalists within Canada, it was an easy target. So unfortunately, people don't always appreciate the prosperity it brings to Canadians and Albertans and Indigenous peoples in the area.
Can you share 5 remarkable facts or achievements about Canada's oil and gas industry?
Number one is the geopolitical significance. So I think it is probably Canada's greatest geopolitical tool. We don't always use it. We don't think about using it. But going in the future, being this incredible producer, having these incredible reserves, being able to provide oil and gas to our allies, I think will be very important. Number 2 is on the Indigenous side. I do a lot of work with Indigenous development. This not perfect in the oil and gas sector, but it is the best sector. And so I look at procurement, benefits, employment, wages, equity deals. There isn't another sector that does better than oil and gas at those things. So it has been a real game changer in terms of economic development and wealth generation. Even though there's more work to do, I think that they're setting the example for others. It provides tremendous royalties and taxes to government. So the things that we all depend on are hospitals, education, roads. We have a very high quality of life in Alberta, high quality of life in Canada. And a lot of that depends on these royalties and taxes, plus, the GDP being generated. Number 4, most productive sector in the Canadian economy by hour of labor worked. Canada has a productivity problem. It has a GDP per capita problem, but the oil and gas sector punches well above its weight. I think the average oil and gas worker produces more GDP per hour, about 12 times more than the average Canadian worker. So every hour that they're spending in the Wood Buffalo region in the oil sands is really having a big boost to the Canadian economy. And I guess number 5, heavy oil isn't just for burning oil. So heavy oil actually, can make different materials, different products, plastics, petrochemicals. So I think it has a great future. Some people are saying, the lowest quality, the lowest return value we're getting is in transportation fuels. And in the future, we'll be selling it for a much higher price for things like carbon fiber. So I think the amount of things you can make with heavy oil with that particular hydrocarbon is very exciting from a material science point of view.
Can you share your first impressions of Fort McMurray?
So this is my first time in Fort McMurray. My Uncle Gary lives here, so it was a great invitation to come up and see for myself. Of course, I've been writing about the oil sands, writing about oil and gas, but I had never been and touched ground on here. So even flying over, I was very curious to see what it looked like. Beautiful town, much bigger than I expected. It didn't even look all that northern, looked pretty much like I could be in a suburb of Calgary, and tremendous infrastructure around here. I will say, not that I had low expectations, but it really is a beautiful city.
Are you optimistic about the future of Alberta's oil and gas industry?
I am very optimistic. I don't think oil and gas is in terminal decline, but even if global oil and gas demand does start to decline, I think it'll be incremental. And I think that shale production will decline faster than American consumption declines. And so I think that Canadian oil and gas will just get more and more important. And I think there's a huge role for Canadian oil and gas to balance out Russian gas, Saudi Arabian gas, Iranian gas, Venezuelan oil and gas. And so that it's important that we are able to provide some of that redundancy, some of that energy security to our allies and keep producing, at a scale that has, that can affect global prices.
What advice would you give to a young woman aspiring to enter the oil and gas industry?
The problem that the industry is going to face is not enough people. So I think if you're a young woman and you want to get into be a heavy equipment operator or an engineer or environmental remediation or engineering, like I said, the sky's the limit. They're going to need many more of you. A lot of people are going to start retiring. The industry is going to need some more fresh young blood, I'll say. And so just tremendous opportunities. And I've done some analysis in terms of wages. Nothing else in the country compares. The wages that a woman, whether you're Indigenous, non-Indigenous, can make in the oil and gas sector far exceeds, about triple what you would make in on an average of all industries. So if you want a good wage and if you want, a couple decades where there will be growth, then I think the oil and gas sector is a good opportunity.
How does someone get a hold of you?
You can find me at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute website, and all my research and publications and op-eds and webinars are all posted there. So if you want to know more about all my opinions, they're pretty much free. You can find them on the website.